as an independent country, but she had to face some foreign invasions 1,000 years ago. During the ancient kings' periods, there were Indian attacks in different stages of Sri Lankan history, but no attack was successful to capture the entire country. But it was not so with the invasions of European nations like Portuguese, Dutch and the British. Sri Lanka lost her freedom with their arrival into the island, and for some times, she struggled a lot with those nations to get her freedom back. Out of the three, Britain was the most successful country that could capture the whole of Sri Lanka in 1815 AD. Here is her story of losing her independence. Sri Rajasena was the king in Kandyan Kingdom in Sri Lanka at the time of British invasion in 1815. During this period there were disputes between the king and his ministers over gaining power. Using this unstable situation, Sir Robert Brownring, the governor, then captured the upcountry. King Sri Rajasena gave up the Kandy city and escaped to a secure place as the British invaded the upcountry. The upcountry people themselves surrounded the place where the king was hiding, which was in Medamahanuwara. They captured the king and the queens and handed them over to the British on the 18th of February, 1815. The British were able to record a victory that no other European nation could record in the hill country with this arrest of the king. But the British did not think that they captured the whole Kandyan kingdom just because they caught the king. They could arrest the king because they were supported by the aristocrats. Therefore, the British took steps to sign a treaty with the aristocrats and complete the process of capturing the whole of the upcountry. Upcountry Treaty 1815. On the 2nd of March, 1815, a treaty was signed between the aristocrats, representing the upcountry people, and the Governor Brownrigg, representing the British government, at the royal courts, Magul Madur, about the yielding of Kandyan Kingdom. This is known as the Upcountry Treaty. There is a belief that Reverend Warrior Pola Sri Sumangala Tero dragged down the English flag and hoisted the Sri Lankan flag when some Englishmen hoisted their flag before the treaty was signed on the 2nd of March in the royal courts. This is the initial step taken by Sri Lankan against the English for their freedom. The Kandyan Treaty is an important historical document that officially accepted the surrendering of the upcountry kingdom to the British. From the first three statements of the treaty, King Sri Rajasena and his relations were stripped off of their rights to the Kandyan kingdom. The fourth statement declared that the upcountry kingdom surrendered to the English government. With this treaty, Sri Lanka completely lost its sovereignty, which lasted unbroken for more than 2,000 years, and became a colony of a foreign country. People, in no time, understood that they had lost the independence that they protected by fighting and sacrificing their lives against the European invaders like the Portuguese and the Dutch. Therefore, they rose against the English in 1818 and 1848 using the traditional ways of attack. The natives called those attacks as attempts to win the lost independence back by chasing the foreigners away from the hill country, whereas the British interpreted the attacks as rebellions against the government. Reasons for the 1818 struggle: the regrets of the loss of the king and the freedom. Emergence of problems about religion and culture. Attacks on the upcountry aristocrats. Reasons for the failure of the 1818 battle. The heavy retaliation launched by the British. Shortage of experienced the upcountry people, for weapons and other resources that are needed for a long battle. Disorganized nature of the battle. The exposure of the real identity of the person who claimed to be the heir to the throne. So the first fight against the British ended in failure. The second battle in 1848 also ended in failure due to heavy weapons used by the British to control the Sri Lankan people. With these fights, Sri Lankan understood that the fighting would not bring solutions to these issues for independence. So they requested in the way that they could until Sri Lankan received the independence. Leaders who spoke for independence for Sri Lanka became her loving sons and heroes.